tonight, Andrew Romanoff lost to John Hickenlooper in Colorado, and it was an absolutely pivotal race because Romanoff is a real progressive who fought for Medicare for all and for a Green New Deal and wanted to get money out of politics. And Hickenlooper said the Green New Deal and Medicare for all are akin to Joseph Stalin. So it doesn't get a bigger contrast. And if Romanoff had finished the comeback, he was down by 51 points. If he'd won, then we could have sent a message to all the Senate Democrats. You better watch how you vote, otherwise anyone can lose. As it turns out, Hickenlooper wins, and the establishment goes, "Ha, we can vote any way we like," and totally screw over our voters, and there's no consequences. And so why is it screwing over their voters? We know how Colorado voted. Bernie Sanders won it overwhelmingly in 2020 in elections that just happened. So we know that the voters there want Medicare for all and Green New Deal. So why they vote for Hickenlooper? Because they didn't know. They didn't know Hickenlooper's against those. He's violently against those. They didn't know that Romanoff was in favor of those because the media didn't tell them. The establishment gave more money to Hickenlooper. We covered those things. But one of the reasons that Romanoff didn't win is because the cavalry didn't arrive. And so this is the part that's more challenging to talk about. So Elizabeth Warren endorsed Hickenlooper instead of Romanoff. Terrible decision. We've talked about it already. But Bernie Sanders didn't endorse Romanoff either. Now, he didn't go as far as endorsing Hickenlooper, but he didn't endorse Romanoff. AOC didn't endorse Romanoff. None of them endorsed Romanoff. So you got endorsements from the groups like Sunrise Movement and the local Our Revolution, et cetera. So he's a real progressive, and real progressive groups backed him. But our stars didn't show up for him. So I don't have to ask you guys how damaging that is. I know it's very damaging. When they showed up for Jamal Bowman, he won. When they showed up for Charles Booker, he overcame, a 40-point lead. He wound up losing by 2, but he was in it and he could have won. And their endorsements made a giant difference, especially in getting press attention. So does Bernie Sanders and the rest of the progressive stars, do they let us down when they don't show up like this?
Yeah, I mean, the answer is yes. I've been thinking about this a lot, and I've been discussing it a lot on my show. There has to be support from the infrastructure that is proven. There's an infrastructure that Bernie Sanders built and that the people built with them, right? It's not just Bernie Sanders' infrastructure. It's not just Our Revolution. It's everybody who contributes, everybody who's on that email list with 40 million people, right? We need those resources brought to bear across the country. I know there's concern about watering down and sending too many emails or endorsing too many candidates, but we're at a critical juncture in this country. We can't afford to worry about appearances. We have to double and triple down on progressive causes and progressive candidates because, I mean, we don't have time to sit back and casually pick individuals. We need all hands on deck.
Yeah, I'm obviously disappointed. I think it's even more disappointing that Elizabeth Warren endorsed Hickenlooper. Yeah. I'm extremely frustrated by what seems to be a desire to toe a line between the establishment or kind of moved more towards it recently than actually adhere to progressive principles. So I remain frustrated by her tactics. But Bernie Sanders, come on, he's almost like a beaten down dog right now. He's really been quiet or just very deferential to the wing of the party that obviously has stabbed him in the back multiple times. And I understand he lost, and progressives lost in the primary. Obviously, I think Obama making calls to a lot of the Democratic establishment players had a lot to do with that, and they all coalesced behind Joe Biden at the perfect time. All of that makes sense, I get it. But progressives did lose, and I think Bernie Sanders, because he's a sensitive person, and his team, they are scarred from being constantly blamed for Trump winning in 2016. And so he's being a little bit more cautious in the candidates that he chooses to back. But my point is, man, what have you got to lose? You just won re-election. And you are one of the most principled people that the country has seen in the past few decades. And your voice carries so much weight. Ocasio-Cortez, I think she's being a lot more picky and choosy with her endorsements. But she's only going to be a second-term congresswoman in the fall. Bernie Sanders, he has the cachet. I wish that he would have been braver in this election cycle, but I do understand how he's probably feeling right now.
Yeah, so look, guys, I think that there are two possible reasons why people don't endorse progressives. It's not that they're not progressive enough. That's absurd. Romanoff was definitely plenty progressive. So I just want you to know that. Because I don't want that lingering in your head. That is, I know for a fact that's not the issue. So the only two things that are remaining are, well, Hickenlooper is likely to be a colleague in the Senate, and Chuck Schumer and every other colleague I have in the Senate wants me to back Hickenlooper. Me staying neutral is brave enough, right? And another possibility is that, hey, I don't want to lose political capital, for example, if I'm AOC, by backing someone that I think is not going to win. Mm-hmm. And my answer to both of those is, so what? So, like, here, I'll give you an example. Jessica Rain is running against Chris Coons in Delaware. She is a wonderful progressive. She's trailing. Delaware is a small state. Anything can happen in Delaware. It's much easier to reach a smaller number of voters in a state the size of Delaware, so progressives have a better chance. But I definitely grant that she's a major underdog. So what? So what if Bernie and AOC and everyone else endorsed her and she didn't win? So what? People in Washington are going to wag a finger at you? Who cares? Right. So am I missing something? Am I being naive? What do you guys think?
I don't think you're missing anything. I think they have to, if your concern is about losing some of your shine and some of your star because you endorse somebody who didn't win, then I really have to pause and question, what are you in this for in the first place? I'm not saying that they're not in it for genuine reasons, but if you're in it for genuine reasons, then you're willing to you're willing to risk it all. And again, I can't stress how important these times are, right? The decisions that are being made in Congress right now, we have people who are about to get evicted, right? The moratoriums are up. People who have no money because that $1,200 that the Congress passed, it's gone. That was gone within the first couple of days. And all of these issues would be better if we had actual progressives in Congress fighting on our behalf. So the times are critical, and we don't really have time to worry about your own political star.
Yeah, I think they might be worrying that then the endorsements that they do make will be less impactful. And I think that that's a genuine concern. But for Bernie, I'm more sympathetic to that case for Ocasio-Cortez. For Bernie, you're in your late 70s, you're the undisputed leader of the progressive movement and one of the most important thought leaders on the left that the world's seen in, again, decades. Like, I'm just surprised that he wouldn't put himself out there more, because he certainly has nothing to lose. Vermont's always going to vote him back through, and he has 6-year terms. He'll be fine.
Yes.
Yeah, Emma, it's a really fair point, and that's why I asked the question. If you were absolutely convinced that your endorsements would become less and less impactful, well, then by doing too many, you might be counterproductive to the progressive movement, let alone your own career. So, I want to give these folks who are wonderful folks the benefit of the doubt, and so that's a good fact pattern for them that might be the case. And partly the media does do that, right? When Trump endorses someone and they don't win, there's a lot of ha-ha, right? And so I can see that happening with AOC and Bernie. But for me, one, Romanoff could have won. And in a situation where you got a candidate who's very legitimate and has a good chance at winning, at a bare minimum in those cases, you gotta go in, right? And you gotta be willing to tolerate a higher level of risk. And my personality is just different. I'm always gonna support the progressive. and I don't give a damn what my batting percentage is, right? I couldn't care less.
Yeah.
And so, and if some press guy writes, "Oh, Cenk, but only 15% of the people you endorsed won," and
right,
okay, so what? I don't care what you think, because for us, like, I don't actually endorse people. What we do is we have them on the show, we raise money, we bring volunteers, etc. And no amount of negative press is going to affect that. We're still going to bring volunteers, we're still going to raise money. And so we get to say we don't give a damn what the press thinks. I get that the others don't have that advantage, but at the end of the day, Ben, I still got to say, when you sum it all up, it's still disappointing, especially on a night like this.
Right, and so if progressives that are currently in Congress are chasing the approval of the press, they've already lost. Right, because there's no matter what they do, right, the press is always going to look at it through a negative lens because they have these underlying biases. They have this framework that they operate through, and so even when AOC, a candidate, wins, they don't give her a lot of fanfare. If a candidate currently loses, they drag her through the mud. That's what they are going to do. So I hope that whoever is advising these politicians, I hope that they can get out of that conventional wisdom of trying to appease a power structure that they can't appease.
When you sign up for a spend and save account at aspiration.com/TYT, we will plant 10 trees. Let's save the planet together.